the twist and turn, a world of wonders you'll soon learn. Big band swing with a gentle tone. In his company you're never alone. The horns will croon, the rhythm will sway. Mark's got stories to brighten your day. A dash of charm, a pinch of wit. Manly Mark's podcast, this is it. Oh, Manly Mark, the man with the spark. He's got the wisdom, he's got the heart. Pull up a chair, stay for a while. Manly Mark will make you smile. So here's the start, the curtain's wide. Join Manly Mark for a jazzy ride. With every note, he'll light the dark. Tune in now to Manly Mark. So here's the start, the curtain's wide. Join Manly Mark for a jazzy ride. With every note, he'll light the dark. Tune in now to Manly Mark. Under the velvet of the moonlit sky, a whisper of stars wings.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome finally to Midday Madness with Manly Mark. As always, I'm your host, Manly Mark, and guys, can you believe I was late getting to the pub? Oh, and look at this. Terry came sloshed this down on my table. Let me taste it. Let's see. Yeah, Terry's a little upset I was late, but what can you expect? We were having a few technical difficulties down here at Uncle Pat's Pub, but if you guys are tuning in, thanks for sticking it out because, man, the devil's attacking us or something because we went live this morning, fine, no problems, and all of a sudden a noontime rolls around and I think, okay, I'm going live, and it's like, failed to connect, and I'm like, no, I have so many things I want to talk about today. I mean, like, I need to check my phone now because Trump was supposed to be making some major announcement at noon Eastern time, which I wanted to share with you guys and be able to talk about it. So let me just check right this second and see if anything crazy that Trump said pops up. Yeah, okay, nothing about Trump. I'll play a Trump video here in a moment, but I had just seen he was supposed to be dropping some kind of a comment at noon, making some major announcement. But nope, no Trump news. Okay. Well, no Trump news. That's crazy. Oh, wait, okay. Trump says, okay, yeah, now. Trump says after cleaning up D.C. with the National Guard, he'll move to another location, stating Chicago will be next. Then we'll help New York. Okay, so I guess that's his major announcement. The point being is he's going to start federalizing a lot of these, it's crazy, large cities where crime just runs rampant and where it seems that the liberal cabal has their talons deep inside, whether that's because they're making money off these illicit activities that happen in these large cities. Trump's going to root them out. And that's kind of again, lends to the question, is it overreach of power? If it was the other side, would I be saying, no? I don't know, but for the sake of the crime, I think it's a good thing. So, thanks, Terry, for the cold coffee. Yeah, he just doesn't like people being late. Jazzy J and T-Man are always late, never at the pub, but one day they'll roll in and they'll be here to talk to us about what I'm talking about. But since I'm talking about Trump, since I'm talking about Trump, I'm going to go ahead and play what he said about Bolton, because as we played this morning on the Feast Me show with Manly Mark, we played essentially a video of the FBI raiding Bolton's house. Well, he was in big with Trump until he wasn't, and then he starts running his mouth, and then this happens. But since I'm talking about Fee, we've been talking about for weeks and weeks this National Guard rollout in D.C. or the National Guard rollout in general. And if you guys have been tuning in, I know Jerry, I know Jessica, anyone out there listening, if you've been listening to Fee, he called the National Guard weeks and months before it happened. He's been saying this. You know, I was kind of skeptical, just in the sense of, okay, well, right now it's just D.C., but I couldn't see it going anywhere beyond that. But yeah, of course, Fee's been saying no, it's going to beyond that and more. And apparently, like Trump just said, he's going to roll out to Chicago next. So it's definitely interesting to see, see that Fee was right. And right now, we might not have 1 billion listeners. It's coming. But we're documenting these things we're talking about because they're coming true. They're coming true. He calls it and it comes true. So stick around to the Feast Me Network, and you're going to see more and more of that kind of thing happen. Whether it's something spooky going on, or he's got a magic crystal ball, or maybe he really did have the vision. I mean, come on now, he's been calling it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Trump's comments on Bolton, just because that's in the news, and it's interesting because they raided Mar-a-Lago, and now some of the Trump defectors are receiving the same treatment. So take a listen to this.
When I hired him, he served a good purpose because, as you know, he was one of the people that forced Bush to do the ridiculous bombings in the Middle East. Bolton, he wants to always kill people, and he's very bad at what he does. But he worked out great for me because every time he doesn't talk, he's like a very quiet person, except on television. If he could say something bad about Trump, he'll always do that. But he really doesn't talk. He's quiet. And I'd walk into a room with him with a foreign country, and the foreign country would give me everything because they said, "Oh no, they're going to get blown up because John Bolton's there." He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. I mean, we're going to find out. I know nothing about it. I just saw it this morning. They did a raid.
Do you expect the DOJ to brief you on this?
Yeah, they'll brief me probably today sometime.
And the foreign minister.
I tell Pam and I tell the group. I don't want to know, but just you have to do what you have to do. I don't want to know about it. It's not necessary. I could know about it. I could be the one starting it. I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer, but I feel that it's better this way.
Foreign Minister Lavrov said.
Ooh, so Trump as the chief law enforcement officer. That's interesting. And so we'll see what unfolds with that. Was he tied into the Russiagate stuff? Right now, I guess they're saying he had classified documents or something to that nature. So we'll stay tuned with that, and we'll keep talking about that as news comes out. And moving on, because I always kind of like to cover a few small little things before I get into the meat of what the episode's going to be about today. And I guess if you had to put me in a corner and say just in a few words what today's episode is called, it's Are We Living in the Matrix? Oh, kind of bold. And I'm just going to point out several aspects of this false reality in which we live. I mean, I could go on for hours and hours about it specifically, but I won't. Just a few specific things that I saw that kind of lend to the greater picture of that video that I showed this morning on the Feast Me show with that Harari Navola, whatever his name is, talking about the social credit system and the complete surveillance and complete control that they're going to impose and have on us, in part through these devices that we pay for. We pay for our own surveillance. How foolish is that? But that's kind of the gist of what we're going to be talking about. But I lead that into just something interesting I saw, which is, they deny these kinds of stories from the Bible, but then you see articles like this. I'll pull it up. Archaeologists unearth biblical sanctuary in search for the Ark of the Covenant. Wednesday, August 6th, 2025, recent article. A team of archaeologists excavating the ancient city of Shiloh in the West Bank has uncovered West Bank. Fee talks about the West Bank a lot, so it's interesting that there's archaeological news in the West Bank because, of course, they're trying to move settlers in or do something with that. The West Bank has uncovered a stone structure they believe may have been the biblical tabernacle, the sacred sanctuary that, according to the scripture, once housed the Ark of the Covenant. Ooh. So Ark of the Covenant in the news, and you remember we had that episode of Midday Madness with Maley Mark where we talked specifically about the CIA doing remote viewing experiments into the Ark of the Covenant. So it's not surprising because for some reason, even though the Bible's fake and untrue, they sure do put a lot of stock into these ancient relics that were sources of power, whether or not they were supernatural power or some sort of hidden and advanced technology? That's not the question I'm asking today. The point is they're looking for them. But the narrative of what they would tell you, like the historical narrative and the archaeology narrative, would be that, oh, these things don't exist. History worked this way, and it's all settled. But this kind of works us into, first and foremost, like, are they lying to us about history? What, and you'd say, well, no. If they discovered something grand and majestic that would rewrite the history books, they would show it to everybody. No, they wouldn't, because their structure of control is so built upon our understanding and view of history, and our understanding and view of, like, for example, evolution, for one, the age of the earth. I mean, even the cosmos. It boils down to even the cosmos. They have complete control over our view of all of these things. And when they discover something that runs counter to the mainstream archaeological narrative, or the mainstream scientific narrative, or the mainstream whatever narrative, they're going to fight against it, whether it's true or not. And that leads into this next video, questioning the Smithsonian. And this video is long, but it's packed with, it's good. And it's on, what's his name, Sean Ryan podcast. And apparently he's a really popular podcast guy, interviews a lot of soldiers, that kind of thing. But lately, because all the conspiracy theories are turning out to be true, he's starting to interview people about different topics like this. But so keep in mind as you watch this video about the Smithsonian and the giants that it's all about maintaining a specific view and understanding. It's almost about wearing a specific pair of goggles to view your reality, and that's the point. And so as you watch this video, keep that in mind. Let me scroll up and find it real quick. Right here. You guys just listen to this.
So are you saying the Smithsonian hides evidence of giants?
The story is always the same. This guy's desecrating a Native American burial mound, finds these giant bones, calls the Smithsonian, they take the bones, they go back, and then it disappears.
This all came from biblical stuff, though, correct?
Maybe like 20 years ago, someone discovered these giant coffins with lids on them. They were sent to the Smithsonian.
Was there anything in the coffin?
Someone asked the Smithsonian about them, and they said, we do have record of receiving that, but we don't know where they are.
Let's dive into the giants.
Okay, good. We'll lighten it up. Giants are in every culture's history. Every culture's got giants mentioned. Ancient Indian Vedas, Native Americans, island of Malta, East Asian. Every culture has giants. And the Bible, of course. Epic of Gilgamesh. So giants show up all through our culture. And whenever I see that, a lot of what I do is just pattern recognition. Like, I wasn't even really a flood myth guy until I started doing my show. And it's like, this flood story keeps showing up over and over, no matter what I'm talking about. The flood myth shows up, and it's always showing up at the same time as, like, the end of the Younger Dryas. Like, these things, it's just the same pattern over and over. Maybe it's a coincidence, but if one culture has a story about a flood, then they have a story. If two cultures have it, it could be a coincidence. But if you get 40 or 300, then maybe there's something to it. Maybe it really happened. So I'm pretty sure that flood happened. Now, as for giants is tricky because we don't have any hard evidence, but we have a lot of circumstantial evidence where the most recent would probably be late 19th century, early 20th, where you just had these discoveries all over America, over 1,000 of them, of these amateur archaeologists finding giant bones. And the story is always the same. Is this guy's, he's digging, and he's like desecrating a Native American burial mound, finds these giant bones, calls the Smithsonian, they come over, they investigate, they take the bones, they go back, and then it disappears. Like, that happens over and over through these stories, is the Smithsonian conspiracies always involved. But,
So are you saying the Smithsonian hides evidence of giants?
I'm saying that the conspiracy theory is that the Smithsonian hides evidence of a lot of things. The Smithsonian, of which I'm a huge fan of. Like, if I go to DC, I spend 4 days there. I love the museum part. But what we don't see is we don't see the kind of the dark underside of the Smithsonian. Like when it was formed,
Like the Vatican.
the Vatican. We can talk about that too. The Smithsonian, I think the first director might have been John Wesley Powell. I could be fact checked on that. Who was, he spent a lot of time with Native Americans. He respected them. He saw them as very intelligent and resourceful. So they were well represented in the Smithsonian, but then he appointed, I forget the gentleman's name, but he was like the chief ethnographer for the East Ohio or something like that, some crazy title. And he gets into a position of power, and it turns out that sees Native cultures as Native Americans as not as subhuman. He called them specimens. He would put like their body parts on display and stuff. Look at these Native American specimens. So there'd be all these discoveries of these amazing mounds, like the Serpent Mound in Ohio, and all this stuff all around the country. And the Smithsonian would say there must have been another advanced race here because Native Americans are they're savages. They couldn't never build this. And that became kind of embedded in the Smithsonian for a long, long time, is this isolationist theory is what they called it, where before it was called diffusionism, where diffusionism was cultures from all around the world interacted. But then the new regime came in and said there's no way that Native Americans from the Mississippian culture could interact with the Mayas or the Incas. They were too savage to do that, which is ridiculous. That's like, saying that Carthage didn't have anything to do with Rome. Of course they did. And we've learned later that some of the biggest, most advanced cities in the world, of the ancient world, were here in America. Like the city of Cahokia was a Mississippian culture. It was bigger than London. It was bigger than Paris. It was like a big advanced civilization that just got kind of covered over. And so the Smithsonian just sort of had this worldview that they're just locked into it. And I think we see a lot of that with pseudoscience, pseudo-archaeology. If it doesn't fit the mainstream narrative, then you're marginalized, you're censored. Again, Graham Hancock, when Ancient Apocalypse came out, it was called the most dangerous series on Netflix because it was white supremacy and all this crazy stuff.
White supremacy?
Because if it's an advanced civilization that was here before us, the implication is that it was white. When he never says anything like that. He's married to a woman of color. So it's infuriating. Because he took a lot of heat for that show.
I love that show.
Of course. And you don't have to believe all of it. And I don't subscribe to everything he does, but I'm fascinated by the topics. And we can get back to giants in a second. I'm just trying to set up that there are forces that want to keep certain things away from us. Mm-hmm. There's an initiative right now to have the Smithsonian catalog and make public everything they have there, which I don't think is going anywhere. The Smithsonian gets very strange carve-outs of laws. There was a law passed not too long ago which required all museums to return anything that was of value to Native American cultures back to the tribes, especially if it was funeral, anything to have to do like.
I'll go ahead and stop that video there because, it kind of made the point that there's initiative and there's reasons why they specifically keep things from you, because there's a mainstream narrative that they have to maintain in order to, just continue to deceive us and to continue to know things that they don't want us to know. And so again, it's like, how much of history has we've been lied to about? Not only how much history about ancient times, but even in our own country, Native American cultures, we were presented the fact that they were savages, but there's a whole continent of interconnected communication between these people. You see pyramids all over the world. Yeah, they don't want to explain why all these pyramids are somewhat similar all over the world. And so I just add that to another stack in we're living in a false reality in a sense, because they've already been caught lying and trying to maintain a specific narrative over history, whether or not it's true. So stick that, put that little pin down. And I saw this little cartoon come up, but it was, this clip is from 1993, but all of our food is fake. What? Me and Fee talk about this a lot, but it's like, what do you feed farm animals? Grains, corn. Well, if you look at most of our food, it's literally just modified corn mush, flavored with this artificial this and this artificial that. And so they literally feed us like we're farm animals. That Harari guy calls us useless eaters. Well, we're useless eaters, but we're eating up the corn mush. They feed us what they feed cattle. And you wonder why there's an obesity epidemic, or why people are unhealthy or infertile, which lends into like a population control, because they keep us unhealthy so that we can't give birth, or that we're not fertile. But then they encourage abortions and things like that, which we'll get into that later. But I just saw this little cartoon, and it's like, I was telling Fee, they put it right there out there in front of your face. If a parent saw that, they'd think, what were they thinking in 1993 if you would have saw this? Or you thought, wait, what am I feeding my children? Okay, so just check this out.
Hey, let's get some ice cream.
How about this one? Pistachio, almond, fruit fudge, butterscotch delight.
Ingredients: zinc trisodium aspartate, sorbitol and bisulfate, oxide beta-carotene, lactic acid carabine. Grade A milk emulsified, maltodextrin alkylide, silicon dioxide, lots of sugar.
Hey, all right.
Calcified synthetic salt, artificial barley malt, glycerin and aspartate, folic acid.
That tastes great.
Monosodium glutamate, dehydrated calciumate, soybean oil, butter fat, caramel sensor.
I'll eat that.
Hooray for sugar, cause we love it. Chocolate chips, we want more of it. Cakes and ice cream, want to shove it down our throats real fast. Here's a candy bar, you tried it?
Hey, let's all see what's inside it.
Gelatinized triglycerin, phosphate, soybean lecithin, deoxylite, trisilicon, dipped in chocolate.
Bring it on!
Citrus enzymes, BHT, powdered milk.
Sounds good to me.
Baking soda, carob gum, carbohydrates.
Yummy, yum.
Monosodium glutamate, zinc disodium alginate, whole grain flour, yeast and fat.
Time to eat it. I'll do that.
We like sweets a lot, so give us all you got, and we'll stuff them in our bodies till they make our insides rot.
I mean, you see it was right there in front of your face, even in 1993. They make your insides literally rot. They're feeding us poison, man, because they want us dull, weak, and numb to these things that they're putting upon us, like that video I showed you from this morning at the Feast Me show, the social credit system. We're already knee-deep in this system that we're going to wake up one day and say, wait, I didn't vote for this. I didn't choose this. But you did. You ate the goy slop. You watched the goy entertainment. You had the bread and circus and consented your way into a point where you're saying, whoa, I'm already in this system I've been preaching and warning everyone about for years. I've woken up already in. Man, we talked about that in depth on the Feast Me show. But again, I think that their whole agenda is not only to trap and control 24/7 surveillance using AIs. Not only that, but it's inherently anti-human. I tried to talk about that yesterday, and I talk about it often, that it's all of this stuff about net neutrality or net zero, carbon emissions, climate change is inherently anti-human. They don't want you to reproduce. They don't want you to eat the precious resources or consume the resources. They want to feed you cattle feed, corn. Just don't get me wrong, I like some canned corn, but that's not the point. And you can even say that about the food. The food we eat disrupts our hormones, affects our fertility, but it's not only that, but it's even the clothes we wear. I mean, check this out. And I've mentioned this to Fee, and I talk about this often. I specifically don't wear certain articles of clothing just for this one specific reason right here.
Polyester is the new birth control. 75% of female dogs wearing polyester in this study couldn't get pregnant because it tanked their progesterone. the most important female hormone. Polyester creates an electrostatic field that disrupts hormone production. It's also loaded with endocrine disruptors like BPA and PFAS, which tank fertility too. Sports bras are also loaded with BPA, and they go directly into your breasts and lymphatic system. Get rid of the spandex, ladies.
Okay, so it's like, oh, not only are they feeding us fake history, shaping our reality, not only are they feeding us fake food, shaping the way we live, our health, our day-to-day life, they're giving us fake clothing that are essentially make us infertile. I had seen that study about dogs, and I had also seen a study they did with rats, where they give little rats shorts, and it made the male rats infertile. And so you wonder why so many people are having trouble getting pregnant these days, or why so many people are having to do like the IVF, or having the female problems with that you see that people do nowadays that seem prevalent. I don't even know what they're called, but it's because we're attacked from every side and angle, and who we're being attacked from is inherently anti-human. It's so anti-human to the point that they're actively making it harder for us to reproduce, and they actively frame having children and having a family in such a way that it's leading to, it's leading to this. It's about to show another video, but Fee's been bugging me about this topic, and so I decided to talk about it. But okay, like I said, they're inherently anti-human, and they don't want you having babies, but and so they're poisoning you. They're discouraging the morale. They're indoctrinating people not to have children, or to why having children is bad. And this is what it's leading to.
Did you see the story about China developing the world's first pregnancy humanoid, effectively a robot womb? Should we be concerned about what that means for the future of humanity? Let's unpack. Across China, Asia, and even here in the West, we're facing a population collapse. Fertility rates have fallen so low that entire nations are now shrinking. For perspective, a society's replacement level is 2.1 children per woman. What's China's fertility rate? It's about 1.1. Their population has effectively collapsed. So the timing of them releasing this news of their artificial womb humanoid is no coincidence. Here in the US, we're at 1.6, and many European countries are even lower. Instead of asking why women can't naturally conceive and carry healthy babies to term, the response has been to double down on artificial solutions like lab-grown embryos, artificial wombs, you name it. And there is virtually no serious ethical debate happening. It's as if we've just accepted that babies will be manufactured by machines instead of conceived by women. This should worry all of us. This, of course, follows years of communist rule in China, where they effectively erased much of what it meant to be feminine, to be maternal. And now in the West, we are seeing the word mother being quietly erased from our everyday language, replaced with words like childbearing individual. When you connect the dots, it looks less like science helping women and more like science trying to redefine what it means to be a woman. Meanwhile, the FDA is reviewing an artificial womb technology for premature babies. That might sound compassionate, but look at history. IVF was a breakthrough for women with cancer who couldn't conceive, but within a single decade, it was commercialized, and today it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's becoming a norm. In fact, some even argue it's irresponsible not to use embryo editing in IVF. That's how fast these things move from medical emergency to a mass-marketed product. So here's where we stand. Fertility rates are in a free fall. Natural motherhood is under attack. The artificial solutions are racing ahead with almost no ethical or spiritual guardrails. The real question we should be asking before others ask and answer it for us is this: just because man likes to play God, does that make him God? And similarly, where are all the freedom fighters for protecting women's rights to healthy, natural reproductivity?
Whoa, that's spooky, man. The implications of all that stuff, that is spooky, because like I said, it's all designed at the top as population control. It's inherently anti-human. They don't want women to carry children anymore. They want you to have your own baby in a pod in your living room that you put a can of nutrients in that is your embryo, and then whenever it's big enough, I guess, comes out of the pod and it's alive. But I guess on a biological level, I know there's a lot of hormones released between a child and a mother during the birthing process that bond them together. And, so on the surface level, that seems like a bad idea. But not only that, but where does it lead in the future in a system of social credit score? Oh, you don't have a good enough social credit score, so you can't reproduce. Not only that, but you see with the clothing and the food they shove down our throats that they're making it harder and harder to naturally conceive as it is. So, I mean, humanity is already under attack. We're already knee-deep in this system. But as we always say, we've just shrugged our way into this, like, okay. Wait, now I have a problem with this. It's too late. But then it also leads into the sense of like, okay, well, where does this end? Okay, at some point, it's the state who's manufacturing the children. It's the state who is the mother and father of the children. And then they will have gained complete control over indoctrination and the molding the minds of the children. Whether or not the biological matter comes from you, it's being processed and grown in a state-funded lab that then the second the child's born gets a VR headset of, a caring little mammy, and the state is essentially its mother and father. You can come look at it through a viewing pod, I suppose, but man, it's spooky, but it's anti-human. It's almost like they want us in the Matrix, like in the movie where you come out of the Matrix and you realize you've been in a pod. Like, that's where it's going, man. But that lends to the question, okay, well then what's going to happen to all these babies that just happen to be naturally conceived? Well, already 28% of Gen Z have been aborted. Oh man, yeah, and that's just because of worship to self. Whether it's because people didn't think they could afford it, or because they just don't care. They treat sex as something with no consequences, and so the value of that baby was nothing. You have that a lot, but once they're getting to this point where they can just essentially make children in the womb, an artificial womb, man, how many aborted lab-grown fetuses will there be? Not only that, I mean, the women who naturally conceive, it'll be viewed as like an oddity. Oh no, you got to get rid of that. Okay, well, there's a market for that already. I'm about to show you a video of that. But then once they're able to do this in the lab, how many millions and millions of just artificially conceived and artificially grown babies that, I guess for all intents and purposes, are still babies with souls, will be sacrificed because there's a marketability to their parts. I mean, just look into some of these research and developments of, well, not only a whole lot of products, but medical breakthroughs that were made in part because of aborted fetus tissue. So just watch this video. This is in a House committee meeting, but just listen to this.
Implant aborted baby parts into lab animals. Have you heard of that sort of research?
Yeah, we did an analysis a few years ago showing that over 90% of experiments with using human fetal tissue and putting them involved animals were funded by Fauci's NIAID.
Do you know where they're getting the aborted human fetal tissue?
A lot of it is happening at colleges and universities that have affiliated hospitals that perform that procedure.
Madam Chair.
As always, the audio doesn't match the video because of the download, but look up the video yourself. It's real. I verified it, as always, before I watch them or show them to you guys. But, oh, wait. They're using aborted fetal tissue to implant into animals in lab studies? What? Okay, well, if that's something they're admitting right there, I guess they're under oath, so they have to. What else are they doing with these aborted fetal tissue? And the point I'm making is that there's a market. There's money to be made in the buying and selling of this aborted fetal tissue. And so it's not a stretch to say, oh, well, no wonder they want to shove abortion down our throats. I mean, even in the videos, she asked where the most of these abortions are happening, and it's at colleges and universities that are affiliated with hospitals, I suppose. And it's just it's a shame. But the point, to a greater point, it being anti-human is not only because we've already aborted 28% of Gen Z. Maybe it's because they got those silly haircuts. But once they can actually just grow these things in labs, how many will be sacrificed in the name of science or marketability just to further some beauty product or some flavor in a Coca-Cola, you know? I mean, just look into all the things that are made with aborted fetal tissue. It'll really make you rethink the things you want to consume and the things you want to inject into your body. But again, it leads to the greater, wow, we live in literally a reality where we've made our own children, the bodies of our own children, profitable. Oh, wow. I mean, the reality we're living in, man, the Matrix. Do we live in the Matrix? It already sure sounds like we do. And so, again, the food they feed us is fake. The history they give us is fake. I mean, of course, the news they give us is fake. The clothes they give us is fake. Pretty soon, the children they give us will be fake. And we're just essentially committing a genocide upon ourselves. And it even goes into, well, I said the news is fake. And I'm going to just briefly touch on this subject because if you watch the news about Alex Jones at all, every once in a while he's in the news because he got sued for, I don't know, close to $1 billion because he denied the validity of the Sandy Hook shootings. And I'm not denying that those happenings. The Feast Me Network's not denying those happenings. But the point is, there were questionable things that came out in the media that might lead someone to actually question the validity of certain events, because the point being is that false flags do exist. They forces unseen, and whether that be our government or foreign governments, perpetuate violence in America to sway the public one way or the other, or just to perpetuate violence. But as I said, that everything, the matrix and reality we live in is just everything they give us is fake because they shape us and they mold us. And so this little video was right after Sandy Hook of the father of one of the children who was killed. But of course the video is probably not going to match the audio, but watch his facial expressions, his demeanor, and as soon as he realizes he's on air, how he immediately changes, almost character. And just think, if you had just, I don't know, I hate to say it, if something like that had just happened to you, would you be acting in this kind of way? Just watch and listen to this. I'm going to play it a few times because it's pretty short.
Statement looks like the family is there, and they're getting ready to make to come to the microphone. So we'll listen in.
Okay. So my name's Robbie Parker.
Statement looks like the family is there, and they're getting ready to make to come to the microphone. So we'll listen in.
Okay. So my name's Robbie Parker.
Boy, his whole demeanor just shifted, just like that. Cool. Hey, everybody. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Think you got it. Sorry. Yep. Oh, man. My name is Rob. I'm family. And it's just like, I'm not doubting the validity of the event at all, but you see stuff like that, and it really makes you question a lot of these major events that we see in the news every day. How many of these things are staged, and not in the sense that there's not actual violence, but staged people in the media, staged people on the scene. Me and Fee were talking about it the other day. Maybe we saw it on the news, but I can't remember if it was Reagan, a picture of Reagan in the Soviet Union or Russia or another president, but Vladimir Putin is a KGB officer in the background with a camera posing as a tourist. And it's like, really makes you wonder. But it lends again to the greater picture. You can't trust what they feed you, what they clothe you with, the history they tell you. I think you would even think the medium in which we exist. But even like what they tell you on the news. We know about fake news. Donald Trump talks about fake news every day. Fake news. But that just, again, you could tie that back into COVID. People just go with the flow. They want to be told what to do because they've conditioned us through the food, through our media, through the drugs they give us. They've conditioned us to go listen to the authority and go along with it. The authority that's inherently anti-human, that's leading us to collapsing fertility rates, increased depression, increased senses of meaningless and hopelessness. But I tied this back to COVID because, like me and Fee were talking about this morning with the mask thing, I just wasn't going to participate. I didn't want to participate in any of it. And I wasn't going to go along with it just because people did. But there are real psychological experiments that they've conducted in colleges that prove people will know, they'll know in their head or their heart of hearts, hey, something's amiss. See everyone else go along with it and just, they doubt that inner voice, their gut, and go along with the crowd just, I don't know, just because. That's just not me personally. And so watch this experiment. It's very interesting, and it's just telling. Like, and keep in mind this video specifically when you keep in mind COVID when you think about this video and how people act with COVID. But not only that, just how deep this runs into our society, and even with this supposed manufactured reality in which we live. And so watch this. It's very, very interesting.
The Ash experiment is one of psychology's oldest and most popular pieces of research. A volunteer is told that he's taking part in a visual perception test. What he doesn't know is that the other participants are actors, and he's the only person taking part in the real test, which is actually about group conformity.
Please begin. The experiment you will be taking part in today involves the perception of line length. Your task will be simply to look at the line here on the left and indicate which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. So, for example, if you...
The actors have been told to match the wrong lines. The volunteer will be monitored to see if he gives the correct answer or if he goes along with the opinion of the group and gives the wrong answer. In the first test, the correct answer is 2.
1. 1. 1.
Two.
1.
Once again, the correct answer is 2.
3.
3.
3.
3.
3.
The Ash experiment has been repeated many times, and the results have been supported again and again. We will conform to the group. Again, we're very social creatures. We're very much aware of what the people around us think. We want to be liked. We don't want to be seen to rock the boat, so we will go along with the group. Even if we don't believe what people are saying, we'll still go along.
1. 1.
1.
1.
Group dynamics is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology.
Ooh, I know Fee's gonna love that. Fee is gonna love that because that's right up his alley. But the point is, it's like even if you know, that proves how easy, even if you know what you're seeing in front of you and what everyone else is saying around you is completely wrong, you're gonna go along with it just to fit in. What are the implications of that with COVID? With the society and the inching towards totalitarian control, what does that say? We're going along with it just because we think everyone else is going along with it. No one's willing to say, whoa, 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 my ankles are wet in this. I don't want my knees in this, let alone my neck. But folks, it's like a crab in the bucket. One crab starts crawling out, another crab pinches on, pulls him back in. You know, that's the society we live in because it's we live in because of the manufactured reality they've given us, they've forced upon us. And so this next video expounds upon that idea a little more. But again, everything we believe we know has been pre-crafted for us for a specific reason, for control. And the people behind this, the people pulling the strings, are inherently anti-human, inherently satanic in nature, and inherently do not have your best interests in mind. They're trying to force you to essentially sell your soul once it actually culminates, however you say that word, in the real system of the beast. And so just listen to this guy, because he's very smart. I think his name's Eric Weinstein, but he gets into this manufactured reality.
Our national security people suck at their jobs. The people who are in charge of the Department of Energy, which is masking the Department of Physics, which is masking the Department of Nuclear Weapons, right? The Atomic Energy Acts, which are really about atomic weaponry, recast as Atoms for Peace or who knows what. Jeffrey Epstein, who is not a disgraced financier. The newspapers that have always had a national interest component and have liaisons so that they can work with the CIA and the State Department and they do each other's bidding and scratch each other. This whole network is what I've called managed reality. We live in managed reality. We are all in some version of the Truman Show. And you can look at it, you can Google it. I can give you 1 million search terms, and every time I give 1 million search terms, you'll watch my reputation get torn apart. Are you going to blame me that you didn't know what the whole of society approach is because you didn't know the Daniel Inouye Center for Security in the Pacific came up with an idea for soft fascism to fight hybrid wars? You didn't know what hybrid warfare? Look at my talk at ARC, Jordan Peterson's group, the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. It's at almost 2 million views. And why is it? Because people are saying, I didn't know these terms. Did you know what the Human Terrain Project is? Do you know about human terrain? You're a mountain, I'm a valley, and instead of war planners figuring out how do we use that valley to capture that mountaintop because it gives us an eagle's nest to snipe from or whatever, they say, okay, this is the second most powerful podcast in the world, second to Joe Rogan. How do we capture him?
Fuck. Leave me alone, please.
No, but that's what I'm trying to say. You're human terrain.
Yeah.
When the human terrain wakes up and says, wait a minute, I'm human terrain? Well, my feeling is, if you don't want me to talk about this on a podcast, then keep your terms separate. Nobody knew the term pre-bunked malinformation. Do you know what pre-bunked malinformation is? Malinformation is information we don't want to get out. Technically, people try to pretend that it's information that will be misinterpreted, but really it's real stuff that is deleterious to the narratives that we're trying to push forward and what we're trying to do. And pre-bunked means discredited. So we know what debunked, we have to debunk disinformation. We get that. But you didn't know that we had to pre-bunk malinformation, which is we have to destroy truth tellers.
They have to destroy truth tellers, folks, and that's exactly what they've been doing to people like Alex Jones, Stu Peters, a lot of folks out there, Owen Schroyer, Harrison Smith, and that's exactly what they're going to do to the Feast Me Network. But, he's sitting there talking about, oh yeah, everything is a manufactured, managed reality. They have to, from the bottom down, from our food, maintain that it's healthy. They have to maintain from our clothing that it's sustainable and healthy. They have to maintain from our news that these specific things are happening to sway the public. They have to, essentially sway the public because with everything, the politics, policy, because if we can get enough of the people going with these lies and with these deceptions, then the rest of the people will just naturally, as you've seen through the Ash experiment, will just follow. I mean, not Manly Mark, not Feast Me, and you get ridiculed and called crazy, even if people see what you're saying is true, because everyone else is not saying it's true, they can't take that step. But folks, you got to take that step. I mean, again, the whole idea is just to get out of the echo chamber and consider the possibility of other things being right or wrong, or the truth or not the truth. And again, I think our entire reality is the Matrix. That was a prophecy book telling us things essentially about our own society. I mean, maybe to an exaggerated effect, but man, you get into the stuff like with the robotic embryo, the declining fertility rates, but how what we're eating and what we're wearing are contributing to that. Oh, well, but now they've got a fix for it, something you've got to buy, but something that lends to more control over us. Okay, dang. And then you get into, all the manufactured news and events. 9/11, what's the real story with that? The USS Liberty, What was the real start and purpose of all of these wars America's been in, whether that be the Middle Eastern wars or the World War I or II. You know, you start realizing if they lied to you about this, and that, what else they lying to you about? And that in of itself, I know people are not worried about because they're paying their taxes, they're going to church, they're going to work, they're coming home, spending time with their families. But as we said this morning, at some point, you're not paying attention to these things because they don't affect you. But it'll get to the point sooner than later when you realize it's actually affecting you, it'll be too late to do anything about it. And so, guys, the Matrix, they've forced us in. Take the red pill and wake up. Take the red pill and wake up. And that leads me to the very last video, which you guys decide what you want to decide about this video. I've seen it been circulating for a while. I kind of believe it, but it doesn't worry me. It doesn't make me think God isn't real or that we don't live in God's creation. It's just an interesting thing to ponder and makes us question, do we live in a matrix? Watch this video.
Oh my God. Holy I just saw something. Yeah. What the
Oh, I see that. I feel it.
When I first saw the phenomenon, it was like, holy But then it was actually like, whoa, what is happening? Am I losing my mind? But then I showed other people, and things kept getting weirder.
Just for the record, I haven't told him anything. Okay, just tell me what you see.
Oh my God, come on. I showed over 100 people, and I kept asking myself, how are all of us seeing the same thing? Oh my God, it's changing shapes right there. The laser was revealing numbers and letters running in a pattern.
They're almost like this big here, and it looks like code.
It looked like programming code.
It's definitely saying something, and I just want to take a picture of it and translate it. Wow.
You see that?
Okay, so yeah, it's not stuck.
No.
It's not because of the light.
No, it's on its own side.
And each angle shows you different layers, different ways through it.
I can see through the wall. It's not like a hallucination. It has spatial awareness and permanence. I don't know. Whoa.
For centuries, mankind has attempted to explore these altered states, but we've never had a repeatable, testable phenomenon to observe until now.
Wow. I'm obsessed. It's like you can see through the laser into another dimension.
The claim is, if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you smoke DMT, you will see code running in surfaces. Yes, like in the Matrix. So there are a few possibilities. One, I lost my mind, which is the coolest losing your mind ever in history. The second option is that this is the biggest discovery of humankind. If anybody ever asked themselves what it would be like to know you live in the Matrix for sure, well, I know for sure. I'm convinced. So where do we go from here? All I know is it's about to get crazy.
So that final video even raises a lot of questions about the reality in which we live. DMT is supposedly the most potent hallucinogenic there is. And so, as the video stated, they're shining these diffracted lasers on these walls and smoking this drug and peering into it and seeing shapes and what looks like code. Some of those shapes even look kind of Hebrew-y or Middle Eastern-y, and that's kind of spooky because it's like, whoa, what kind of knowledge do these ancients really have access to if they could see into the Matrix? Whoa. But and does that mean God isn't real, or that for some reason we live in some computer simulation? No, the implication would just be that, as I say often, the more we understand and see of God's handiwork, the less we probably see God in it. I don't believe in evolution per se, or at all, I guess. But if that was the thing that was real, and the more we discover about evolution, we don't see God in it. We think, oh, natural processes. Well, the more you see into the processes that God used, the less you see God in it, aside from just, hey, God created. Well, if God created in some unseen realm only accessible by drugs and a laser on a wall reveal some sort of code and language and things that are like the Matrix, well, that's just, okay, well, cool, God, if that's the way you did it, good. And with that, I'm going to close it out because I don't even know how long I've been going. I don't even have a timer on here. But guys, if you tuned in, thank you. We talked about a lot of things, but do we live in a matrix? You guys decide. I mean, everything from our food, clothing, our children in the future will be fake and artificial. Our reality might be artificial code in some unknown language. So guys, just do the research yourself, and as always, Jesus Christ is the answer. So don't forget to tune in to Night Night with Fee tonight at 9 o'clock. Lord willing, we won't have any streaming issues, but if you tuned in, thank you guys, and you'll see me again on Monday. God bless you.